An 85-year-old man stands accused of a crime. His offense? Trying to sleep. But hidden in his tattered jacket pocket lies a photograph that will stop an entire courtroom cold. A secret so powerful that a judge will break 32 years of protocol and do something he's never done before. This is the story of how one faded picture exposed America's most shameful betrayal. The doors of Providence Municipal Court swing open on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. What walks through them is anything but ordinary. John Martinez shuffles forward, 85 years of hard living etched into every line of his weathered face. His jacket, clean but frayed at every edge, hangs loose on a frame that's forgotten what regular meals feel like. In his trembling hands, a plastic grocery bag containing everything he owns in this world. But there's something about the way he carries himself. Despite the worn clothes, despite the obvious poverty, despite everything, his shoulders pull back, his spine straightens, his head lifts. This is a man who remembers dignity, even when the world has forgotten his. Judge Frank Caprio glances at the citation, Case 29847. Another homeless violation, another park bench, another night of survival mistaken for criminal behavior. The fourth citation, 4 times caught sleeping under a streetlight in Burnside Park, because at least there, in that pool of artificial light, he feels safe enough to close his eyes. Mr. Martinez, Judge Caprio's voice, cuts through the silent courtroom. Tell me, where do you live? The answer lands like a punch to the gut. I don't have a home, Your Honor. Haven't had one for 3 years. 3 years. Over 1,000 nights on cold benches, in doorways, under overpasses. 3 years of being invisible in a country he once defended. Judge Caprio sets down his pen. This isn't about the law anymore. This is about something far more profound and far more disturbing. What happened 3 years ago, Mr. Martinez? The old man's voice remains steady, but beneath it runs a current of grief that could drown continents. My wife passed, Elena. We were married 61 years. 61 years, Your Honor. We had a small apartment, nothing fancy, but it was ours. When she died, I couldn't keep up with the rent on just Social Security. $800 a month doesn't go far these days. The math is brutal and simple. Rent or food, medicine or shelter. In America, in 2024, an elderly man must choose. He chose survival. The landlord chose eviction. And you've been waiting for veterans housing? Yes, sir, I'm on the list. But the list is long. Very long. Judge Caprio's expression shifts. You're a veteran. Yes, Your Honor. United States Army. I served in Korea. The courtroom temperature drops 10 degrees. Korea. The forgotten war. The conflict Americans barely remember, fought by men America has literally forgotten. What unit, Mr. Martinez? 2nd Infantry Division, Your Honor. A pause. Heavy with history. I was at Heartbreak Ridge. 4. Anyone who knows Korean War history, those 2 words detonate like artillery. Heartbreak Ridge. September 13th to October 15th, 1951. 37 days of hell on earth. Wave after wave of Chinese soldiers attacking up a blood-soaked mountain. American forces fighting for every inch of frozen, corpse-littered ground. Thousands dead. Thousands more wounded. One of the most savage battles in American military history. And this old man, now clutching a plastic bag of belongings, was there. Judge Caprio leans forward. Mr. Martinez, you mentioned you have something with you. One thing you've kept from Korea. May I see it? What happens next will echo through every heart in that courtroom. John Martinez reaches into his jacket with hands that shake, not from fear, but from the weight of memory. Slowly, reverently, as though handling something sacred, he withdraws a photograph sealed in protective plastic. The edges are worn soft from 7 decades of careful touch. The image is faded, but what it shows burns with terrible clarity. Judge Caprio takes the photo. His breath catches. His eyes widen. And then, in a courtroom where he's presided for 32 years, where he's seen every variety of human tragedy and triumph, he does something unprecedented. He stands. The photograph shows a young soldier, barely recognizable as the broken old man before him. He's 22, face smeared with mud and blood, his own mixed with that of others. His uniform is torn, soaked, hanging in tatters. On his back, he carries another wounded soldier through shell-cratered terrain that looks like the surface of an alien planet. Behind them, chaos, smoke, fire, other soldiers helping their wounded brothers. But it's what's pinned to that young soldier's chest that makes the judge's hand tremble. A combat medical badge, earned only by those who provide medical care under direct enemy fire. And below it, gleaming even in the faded photograph, a silver star, America's third highest military decoration for valor in combat. Mr. Martinez, Judge Caprio's voice is barely above a whisper. "Is this you?" "Yes, Your Honor. Heartbreak Ridge, October 1951. I was 22 years old." "Who were you carrying?" "Private Charlie Morrison, from Ohio. Machine gun got him. He couldn't walk, couldn't get back on his own." "You went out under fire?" "Yes, sir. We were all under fire. That's why he needed help." The judge's eyes dropped to the silver star visible in the photograph. "Mr. Martinez, what did you receive this medal for?" The old man shifts uncomfortably. "For going out to bring back wounded men during one of the assaults, Your Honor." "How many times did you go out?" The answer drops like a bomb. 7 times, sir, in one day. We had a lot of casualties that day." The courtroom goes silent. Not the polite silence of respect, but the stunned silence of shock. 7 times. 7 separate trips into machine gun fire, mortar explosions, and artillery barrages. 7 wounded Americans who would have died, if not for the 22-year-old medic who kept running back into hell to drag them out. Judge Frank Caprio rises slowly from his bench. In 32 years, he has never done this. Judges don't stand for defendants. The power dynamic flows one direction. The accused stands before the judge, never the reverse. But this moment transcends protocol, transcends law, transcends the ordinary hierarchy of a courtroom. Judge Caprio raises his right hand. His fingers extend, straight and rigid. His hand lifts to his brow in a perfect military salute, precise, formal, and held with absolute solemnity. A civilian judge saluting a combat veteran who saved 7 lives in one day and now, 7 decades later, sleeps on park benches because his country pays him $800 a month to survive. The symbolism shatters every heart in the room. John Martinez, surprised, reflexively returns the salute. Even after 70 years, even homeless and broken, his body remembers. His form is perfect, sharp, practiced, muscle memory encoded when he was young and strong and running through gunfire to save his brothers. The courtroom erupts. People surge to their feet. Applause thunders off the walls. Tears stream down faces. Grown men sob openly. Judge Caprio holds the salute. 1 second, 2, 3, making sure John Martinez knows this isn't casual recognition. This is profound respect. This is overdue honor. This is America remembering. Too late and too little, but remembering nonetheless. When the applause finally fades, Judge Caprio speaks, his voice thick with emotion, barely held in check. "Mr. Martinez, in this courtroom, we see hundreds of cases every week. Parking tickets, traffic violations, minor infractions. But every once in a while, every rare, precious once in a while, we're reminded that the people standing at this podium aren't case numbers. They're human beings. They have stories, They have histories. They have sacrifices we can never fully comprehend. He pauses, lets the weight settle. You served this country with extraordinary courage. You saved lives. You earned one of America's highest honors for valor. And 70 years later, this country has failed you. You shouldn't be sleeping on park benches. You shouldn't be homeless. This is unacceptable. This is shameful. This ends today. The judge wheels toward his clerk. Sarah, contact the Rhode Island Veterans Home immediately. We have an 85-year-old Korean War veteran, Silver Star recipient, who needs placement. Not next month. Not next week. Today. Right now. He's not asking. He's commanding. And get the VA benefits office on the phone. I want someone here within the hour to review Mr. Martinez's benefits and ensure he's receiving every single dollar he's entitled to. Judge Caprio turns back to John, and his next words ring with finality. Mr. Martinez, your citation is dismissed. You weren't committing a crime. You were trying to survive. And you never, ever should have been put in that position. Thank you, sir. I'm not finished. The judge's voice rises. You're not leaving this courthouse until we have permanent housing arranged. You're not walking back out onto those streets. Not today. Not ever again. The courtroom transforms into a war room. The clerk works 3 phones simultaneously. The bailiff orders food, a real meal, the first John has eaten in days. People rise from the gallery, offering help. A VA social worker, present for another case, approaches. Your Honor, I can coordinate services immediately. An American Legion representative steps forward. Judge, we have an emergency fund for veterans in crisis. We can help with immediate expenses. More voices, more offers, resources materializing from nowhere and everywhere. All because one judge refused to let this man stay invisible. An hour passes. John Martinez sits in the courtroom with a hot meal before him, the first real food he's tasted in who knows how long. He eats slowly, carefully, like a man who's learned the hard way never to take anything for granted. The VA social worker sits beside him, reviewing documents on a laptop. Mr. Martinez, I've pulled your file. You're eligible for aid and attendance benefits because of your age and living situation. That's an additional $1,400 per month on top of your current pension. John's fork stops midway to his mouth. $1,400? Yes, sir. You should have been receiving it already. We'll backdate it and get you the money you're owed. Probably close to $50,000 in back benefits. The old man's eyes fill with tears. Judge Caprio's clerk returns, slightly breathless. Your Honor, the Rhode Island Veterans Home has an opening. They can take Mr. Martinez today. They're sending a van in 1 hour. John's hands begin to shake. The fork clatters against the plate. Today? I can go. Today? Yes, sir. You'll have your own room, 3 meals a day, medical care, other veterans to talk to. Tears spill down John Martinez's weathered face. Tears that have been building for 3 years, for 1,000 cold nights, for 70 years of being forgotten. I haven't had a bed in 3 years, he whispers. Judge Caprio descends from the bench, something he almost never does, and walks across the courtroom. He extends his hand. John stands, takes it, shakes it firmly. Mr. Martinez, I'm sorry this took so long. I'm sorry you had to sleep on benches. I'm sorry America forgot about you. But we're remembering now. We're remembering. Thank you, Judge. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. You earned this 70 years ago when you ran into enemy fire 7 times to save your brothers. You earned every bit of help you're receiving today. This isn't charity. This is a debt payment, and we're still short of what we owe you. The American Legion representative approaches with a check. Mr. Martinez, we have $2,000 in our emergency fund. It's yours for clothes, personal items, whatever you need to get settled. John can barely speak. I can't. That's too much. It's not nearly enough, sir, but it's a start. 2 hours after walking into court expecting a fine for the crime of being homeless, John Martinez walks out transformed. He has a permanent bed at the veterans' home, his VA benefits restored and backdated, nearly $50,000 coming his way, $2,000 in emergency assistance in his pocket, new clothes being delivered tomorrow, medical appointments scheduled, a social worker assigned to navigate the bureaucratic maze, and most importantly, his dignity acknowledged, his service honored, his sacrifice remembered. As he reaches the door, John Martinez turns back one final time. He snaps to attention, spine straight, shoulders back, head high. He raises his hand in a perfect salute. Judge Caprio returns it immediately, holding it, until the old soldier disappears through the doors. The courtroom is silent except for quiet weeping. The video goes viral within hours. 8 million views in 3 days. Judge salutes homeless veteran. Entire courtroom cries. 85-year-old war hero sleeping on benches. Judge fixes it immediately. This is how we should treat veterans. Donations flood in. The American Legion's emergency fund receives $150,000 in 1 week, all designated for homeless veterans. The Rhode Island Veterans Home is overwhelmed with applications from volunteers wanting to help. 3 United States senators contact Judge Caprio, asking how they can expand veterans, housing, and services. John Martinez settles into the veterans' home. His own room, 3 meals a day, medical care whenever he needs it. Other veterans who understand what he went through because they went through their own versions of hell. 1 month later, there's a ceremony. The American Legion presents John with a plaque honoring his service. Local news covers it. He's embarrassed by the attention, but deeply, profoundly grateful. 6 months later, a letter arrives at Judge Caprio's chambers. Dear Judge Caprio, I wanted to write and tell you how I'm doing. I have a home now, a real bed with clean sheets, 3 meals a day. The nurses say I'm gaining too much weight, but I don't mind. My health is better. I'm taking the medications I need. I'm sleeping through the night. But more than that, I feel like a person again. For 3 years on those benches, I felt invisible. Like I didn't matter. Like maybe I'd imagined my whole life and nothing I'd done was real. Like the war was just a dream and I'd wake up and discover I'd never done anything worth remembering. That day in your courtroom, when you stood up and saluted, you saw me. You reminded me that I matter. That what I did 70 years ago still counts. That I'm not invisible. I just needed someone to really look. I can't thank you enough. You gave me back my dignity. You gave me back my life. Respectfully, John Martinez, Silver Star United States Army Judge Caprio, keeps that letter in his desk drawer. He reads it on hard days when he's frustrated with the system, when he wonders if anything he does actually matters. It reminds him that sometimes one moment of recognition can change everything, that sometimes the most important thing anyone can do is see someone. Really see them, acknowledge who they are and what they've given. That America's heroes shouldn't have to sleep on park benches to prove they're still worthy of being called heroes. John Martinez saved 7 lives in 1 day when he was 22 years old. 70 years later, a judge, a courtroom, and a community finally returned the favor. But here's the devastating truth. John Martinez isn't unique. Right now, tonight, approximately 37,000 veterans are sleeping on American streets. Men and women who wore the uniform, who served their country, who did everything asked of them. Abandoned, invisible, forgotten. Some of them earned medals for valor. Some of them saved lives. All of them deserve better than park benches and police citations. Judge Caprio proved that some debts transcend law. That service deserves recognition, no matter how much time has passed. That sometimes the most powerful thing anyone can do is simply stand up and acknowledge someone's worth. John Martinez learned that he still matters, that his sacrifice 70 years ago still counts, that he's not invisible. He just needed someone to see him. Sometimes heroism isn't one big moment. Sometimes it's small acts of recognition that remind someone they're still seen, still valued, still worthy. No veteran should ever sleep on a park bench. But when they do, every single one of us should do what Judge Caprio did: stand up, salute, and refuse to let them stay invisible. If this story moved you, don't just watch and forget. 37,000 veterans need more than our tears. They need our action. Find your local veterans organization, donate, volunteer, advocate, make noise. Because somewhere tonight, another John Martinez is lying on a cold bench, wondering if anyone remembers what he did when he was young and brave, and America needed him. Be the person who remembers. Be the judge who stands. Be the reason someone gets their dignity back. Subscribe for more stories of justice, compassion, and the moments when America finally does right by those who gave everything for her.